Hey y'all, Kevin Hutchison here with Realty Austin, and I am grateful to be a part of Stories Inside the Man Cave, a homegrown podcast just like my own business.
Wake your ass up
or take a damn nap.
And we're the three best friends that anybody could have.
It's time.
Sean, you were twerking. That's going to happen.
Murph, don't be a dick all your life.
It's one of the more fun podcasts I've ever done.
Hey, I tell you what, if you're not talking about sports in the man cave, I better not say you're not a man.
That's it.
Snap, good hold. The kick is on the way, and the kick from Dawson is good! It's good! And the Longhorns have won the game, 17-16. How about? And there is pandemonium on the field at Memorial Stadium.
Wow. Phil Dawson, I don't want to age us because we are two of the better-looking balding dome guys. And I agree. At least in this part of the country, but that was 2 decades ago plus.
I was about to say there's something wrong with your feed because that video looked awfully grainy. So it doesn't seem that long ago, but man, you start adding up the years. It's been a while.
I can't believe it. I remember that I was at Stephen F. Austin at the time, and I had, I either drove to Houston, drove to Austin to see a lot of those games. With that group of guys that you played with, Norman Watkins, Jason Reeves, to name a few. Great team, great season. And that was a great game because I think that was the Barber twins or brothers for Virginia that you guys knocked out or won at I think they made a field goal and then you just marched down into the wind 30 miles per hour. And that became the norm for Phil Dawson, in my opinion.
That Virginia was kind of snake bit that year. If you go back 1 week before that game, they lost a heartbreaker on the last play in the Big House against Michigan. And so then they come limping into Austin. They were a heck of a team. There were 7 or 8 NFL guys on that team. And we had kind of come out to a little bit of a kind of weird start that season. And we're starting to kind of get our footing. And they made I think it was a 56-yard field goal with about a minute left. They thought they had won the game. James Brown got the boys together and put a drive together, and they sent me out there. And, I think had it been a 30-yarder, I would have been a lot more nervous. It was such a ridiculous attempt. It almost freed me up to just whatever, just let it rip and we'll see what happened. And, it doesn't happen that often when you swing your leg as hard as you humanly can and the ball actually goes where you want it to. So, it all came together. That was the University of Texas 700th all-time win. And we went on to get on a roll after that. That kind of turned the tide of our season. And we went on to win every conference game after that. So when I look back on that, that's what means the most to me.
That was a beautiful example of a team coming together that was truly developing the year before in 94. Yep. And then that just pretty much launched your name into what you became. And as far as I know, you don't like these terms, but kicking great, not only at Texas, but the NFL. And when you look back now and you look at your NFL career and kicking career at Texas, it goes by so quickly. Is there something that as you have become not only a mentor to young people, and we'll get into that coaching career that you're in now. What was it from those moments, even dating back to Lake Highlands, which we'll talk about shortly, but everything, it goes by so quickly. What's your message to young people as you navigated and was able to produce a lengthy, long career?
You never arrive. I think kids these days think you get named to a certain position or you make a certain team, now you can relax.
Right.
And my last day of my 21st season in the National Football League, I was still grinding every bit as hard as I was trying to make the varsity as a sophomore at Lake Highlands High School in 1991. So you just never arrive. You just put your head down. There's an old saying, chin down, elbows up. You just go to work and you chase your best. and you never arrive. Pete Carroll says there's no finish line. And so many kids these days, if they don't get named to the team they want, they don't get the amount of playing time they think they deserve or their parents think they deserve, they just quit. And we've completely lost the concept of doing hard things. And my career, people from the outside think it was all rosy. There was all kinds of adversity at every level along the way. 2 major knee surgeries, had a blood clotting issue, went undrafted, 6 surgeries in my time in the NFL, having to start over at 38 and 42 years of age with new teams in the league. I mean, every step of the way was a challenge. And so it was hard. But when you have that mentality of, you know what, I'm just going to show up today and try to get a little bit better. You wake up one day and you're old and you got gray hair and you can't believe you played as long as you did.
I think that is a valuable message. You've not arrived, and I think that stays with us through our whatever chosen career. We have not arrived. Like, we achieved some type of success, we have to remind ourselves there's even greater success to achieve.
Hey, try this one. I came up with this one. All right, try it on. I want my last breath on this earth to be an inhale.
That's deep.
I like that one.
And you know what? That reached a level of profoundness.
There you go. Well, that's all the wisdom I have right there. I'm done. I got nothing left.
Well, your wisdom, if that's it, there's a whole foundation of wisdom, because you're able now to impart that on young men. And you did so when you went to Lipscomb Academy.
Yep.
I think with Trent Dilfer.
Yep.
And now I have to say this. It was a pleasure for me back in my previous long career that I have no regrets. Both of your sons at Vandergrift. And that was so much fun. And I believe your youngest son went to Lipscomb. And what was that experience like with Dilfer and developing and I guess creating a new career for yourself?
Always knew I wanted to coach. Had no idea I'd play as long as I would.
Yeah.
So I wake up and I'm in my mid 40s. I'm 15 years behind, 20 years behind the other coaches. So I needed to step in and kind of fast track things. And given my relationship with Trent, he offered me an opportunity to step in a coordinator role right off the bat.
Beautiful.
And it was also a great fit for my son. So how many dads get to coach their boy in high school? So, and Bo was gracious enough to put up with his old man being on the sidelines with him. And I'm sure there were moments where he wished I wasn't, but it culminated with this past year in his last high school football game. We won the state championship and we got to walk off the field together with the trophy. And, in all the experiences I've had in the game of football, I can't think of one that's more special than that.
Yeah, being a dad, Bo, Drew, of course, you have a daughter. It's Sophie Ann, correct?
Yep, that's
okay.
it.
And then the talent continues with your wife. And if I remember correctly, a singer-songwriter?
She does it all. She's also an author. I mean, she's the talented one. In fact, I was over here interviewing for this job at Hyde Park, and I thought I was knocking the interview out of the park, man. I was feeling myself. I got this thing in the bank. Come back for the second round. I brought Shannon with me. And once I brought her, they weren't going to let me leave the building before I signed the contract. So we call her the closer, and it's fun to see her utilize her gifts, and she's just a wonderful woman.
Yeah, you guys are a package deal, an asset, and you guys were when part of the Vandergrift community. And I knew you always wanted to make it back to Austin, but before we make that transition, this was absolutely hilarious because I tried to follow along with you on Twitter when you were at Lipscomb, and I think you have, if this coaching doesn't work, I think you have another career, which is an extension of what I used to do, but not. I like this. I think you'd be more accurate than most who are in this business. Here's a sample of what I'm talking about.
Expect temperatures in the low 70s at kickoff.
It'll be in the mid-60s by the end of the game. Should be a very comfortable evening. Winds are expected to be out of the east-northeast, around 5 to 7 miles an hour. So once again, I don't expect much of a factor in the kicking game. We have a 5% chance of rain. So according to our calculations here, that's a 500% chance of rain here in 2020.
Come on, that's fairly accurate. 5%, 500%. You know how the weather extremes are here in the Austin area. That's about right.
Yeah, it started out kind of serious, and then as it devolved, it turned more into a humor deal. But in my playing days, I chose to approach kicking the same way a linebacker or a quarterback would approach their job. But I obviously don't have a human across the line of scrimmage from me that I got to study, but I have the conditions of the day. And so I kind of, through the years, people kind of marveled at how psycho I was about studying forecasts and memorizing the hourly and keeping a notebook of what the wind means in which stadium. And I mean, that's how it started. So I get to Lipscomb and they're like, you want to do a little weather deal? And before you know it, we're mimicking The Office, and we're basically making a fool out of me every week. And the people loved it, and it kind of became a thing. So I'm looking to continue that on here at Hyde Park.
I hope you do. And if you need a talent agent, I'm willing and able to promote you. And in this new age of digital media, I think that you would be an asset to any news agency who is willing to take a gamble on something new like that.
I mean, I started getting heckled from people in the stands if I got the forecast wrong. So by the end, I think I felt more anxiety about my forecast than I did the dang game.
There's a lot of work. It takes more work probably than a game plan. And speaking of game plans, you've always wanted to return to Austin.
Yep.
And I know that you were looking at opportunities in the high school football world, and there's not many really are available annually here in this area. I mean, you played Texas high school football, but I think the rise of private schools really is that they're much better jobs than they were 10 years ago. And this is you recently, this week actually, being named the new Hyde Park High School, the new Panthers, if you will, head coach.
I've only been here a week, but so far I've been blown away with the culture of the people that I've met so far at Hyde Park. Faithful, professional, intentional, and welcoming.
So I look old, man. Dang.
Oh, well, it's the eye of the beholder situation.
Yeah. It's I'll be brutally honest. Growing up playing public school in Dallas, I kind of looked down my nose on private schools, and
I did the same thing.
Yeah, and didn't necessarily see myself going this route. But when I got to Tennessee, it's flipped. Kind of there's some quality public school programs there, but the private schools is kind of where it's at. And so it really opened my eyes to what's possible in the private school world. And so when I started pursuing opportunities back here and this one became an option, I was really intrigued. And I wanted to take, the last 2 years experience in the private school world and see what I could do here. And so it was just a match made in heaven. It's a great fit for my daughter. Obviously the faith aspect, I'm free to use that in my coaching at a private school. And the football, I love a challenge, and never backed away from one. This is a place that's got a history of winning, but has been pretty brutal here in the last several years. So the challenge of coming in and building something from ground zero is really attractive to me. And there's a community around here that's really hungry to win, and I can't wait to partner with them, and let's get this thing going.
One thing about Hyde Park, of course, I was coming up in the public school, the Anderson High School here in Austin. It was that's all you thought of. But I know Hyde Park then was still, I believe they had not owned the land that Hyde Park is now. You you were head coach of a football program, which is on perhaps the most beautiful campus on
Wet
it,
Lake.
on on Oasis. You can go fishing.
That's
in
right.
between practices if you wanted to.
Yeah, and if we play bad, I may go at halftime and try to catch me some fish. So it's a great spot to have. Yeah,
it's fun fact in high school, because you're invincible when you're that age.
Oh yeah,
nothing can happen to you at that age.
No.
we that was undeveloped land. We would somehow take our trucks, meander through the little wooded area, and we would jump off the cliffs into that quarry. There's water, of course,
Yep.
But I wouldn't recommend it. Do as I say, not as I did type situation.
There you go. There you go.
Hey, one of my favorite parts about, I want to show you, hopefully some of your now kids in your program, I want to show them a picture. And this is from your days that they can relate to. Again, instead of it not being grainy, it's black and white.
There you go.
So
there it is.
The guy, the Lake Highlands big leg, but
you remember the jerseys? Remember that? I was too fat to show off the six pack, so I had to tuck in my shirt. Yeah.
Those jerseys were heavy.
Yes, they were.
Very heavy. So
big shoulder pads, everything.
Huge.
Yeah.
You were not just a kicker. You played another position. Tell the folks, and even your current players now at Hyde Park, if they see this, you did a little bit of everything for Lake Highlands, which was a state power back then.
Man, I grew up and just loved the game of football. Never really envisioned myself being a kicker, and I joke with people, it's actually true, but not many kids lay in bed and dream about being a kicker someday, and I certainly fit that mold. So when I got a chance to play, man, I was playing linebacker on defense. I wound up actually playing on the offensive line. We ran the wishbones. We didn't need super big O linemen, and I certainly wasn't big. But those experiences of being kind of an undersized go-getter, just the attention to detail just to survive a game was required. And it really taught me to how important that was. And little did I know I would wind up having a career where every little thing mattered. I mean, literally an inch where my plant foot's off could affect the outcome of the kick. So those experiences were so vital to any success I had down the road.
I had to get the background of the Cowboys' old home, Texas Stadium.
Yep. There's
always that saying, there's a hole in the roof so God could see his favorite team.
Yep.
The strange thing about this world, we're all tied together with our experiences or people. You nailed a really long kick to beat a high school, which I eventually would cover. And then my ex-wife is a Nacogdoches Dragon. You beat Nacogdoches in 1992, and they had a pretty softy team. What do you remember about that game and that team?
And it was back and forth. They were uber talented. I mean, they had dudes everywhere. Extremely well coached. They scored to tie the game. I think there was 36 seconds left, and here I go again dating myself with with the black and white picture. But back then it was penetrations.
Yeah.
Decided, and a lot of your viewers probably don't even know what that is. They probably think I just said a bad word, but it's how many times your offense got the ball inside the opponent's 20. Well, we were tied on penetration, so it went to first downs, and they had more first downs than us. So we had to score, and we got a great kickoff return. I think we ran 3 offensive plays, and they sent me out there for a 53-yarder. And, you mentioned earlier jumping off the rocks at the quarries lake. I was young and dumb. I didn't have an ounce of fear in me. I didn't know any better. Like, I'm just going to go make the kick. And looking back on it now, I get super nervous. I'm like, holy cow, what was I thinking? That could have been the last play of my high school career if I miss it. But that thought never even went through my mind. And the ball went through. I got a great hold from my best friend, Matt Austin. The snap was way over his head. He literally had to come off the ground to catch the snap. I kind of double clutched, and somehow the ball went through. So obviously one of my best memories in football.
That was, that video of that game, I used to have access to it, and it was kind of like the John Tyler Plano East game that was played in the same stadium. That video is amazing because of the view of the kick above, and it was spectacular. One of the greatest kicks in Texas high school football playoff history. One of my favorite parts of this podcast has been, hands down, all of the man cave stories that have been collected to date. It's brought to you by Jim Saxton State Farm Insurance Agency. Now, you could have a 1A and 1B because I know you have tons of experiences and stories. Is there any type of man cave story that stands out, or stories?
So you're talking about like locker room stuff?
Locker room, life experiences,
man,
maybe stories.
I literally have a dirty one.
Oh, that's even better.
So shower time after practice, everybody's getting cleaned up. And I'd never seen this before. But guys use the butt rags.
Yeah.
Get them all soaped up, and they clear the rear ends with them. Well, at the end of the shower room, there's a little hallway, and there was a laundry bin. So guys, they'd start on their rear ends, and they'd get that all nice and clean, and then they'd toss the dirty wash rag to the laundry bin. And so I'm in there and doing my thing, and I'm watching these guys toss these nasty soap-filled butt rags to the laundry bin. Well, one of my buddies just happens to come walking down that hallway at the worst possible time. And I'll never forget it hitting him right in the cheek, and dirty soap suds, it looked like a nuclear bomb went off, and the entire shower just stopped what they were doing and laughed at him all the time. And that locker room, that's how that stuff works. I mean, it is a wilderness. I don't advise anyone go in there. I'm very lucky that I survived it. Now I do have scars, but that's a wild jungle in there.
Memories will last a lifetime. You've got to be aware of the multiple bins of towels.
Oh yeah, and you got to know which one to grab.
Yeah, and that's where I thought you were going with it. Somebody grabbed a towel that was already used in someone's crevice.
Yeah.
Crevasse.
I actually got the equipment guy, Brad Mellon at Cleveland Browns. I said, Brad, you got to start putting our numbers or our initials on towels, because I know y'all watch these things, but I know how nasty some of my teammates are, and I don't trust Clorox. I don't trust your washers. I want my own dang towel, and he did it. So we had our own towels after that. So that was good. But you know what? When you were extra dirty, you'd go grab the rookie's towel, and you'd use his, and then you'd hang it back up in his locker. So, it stinks being a rookie.
Pun intended.
Yes.
Pun intended. I'm all for rookie hazing, but I can be canceled nowadays for saying that.
Oh yeah.
Hazing is a quality act if done properly, constructively.
Yep.
And I don't expect the Phil Dawson to comment on that as well. Hey, Phil, we're going to take a quick break. Second segment here. We're going to dive into some kicking, in particular NFL. We'll talk about your Longhorns, and there was a recent commitment which created an emotional response, and it's the beauty of recruitment, passion, and having your family around. That's what it's all about. And we're going to take a quick break, and when we return with the great Phil Dawson, the new Hyde Park High School head football coach and AD, and we're going to continue to welcome back to Austin as he is now. Is this your second or third week back in Austin?
Second week, but I'm drinking from a fire hose, so who knows how long I've been here.
Oh my God! Sometimes that's the best way to learn.
That's it.
We'll see you on the other side of this break. For all of your insurance needs, look no further than our primary sponsor, Jim Saxton State Farm Insurance Agency. The ATX OG has been insuring Austin for over 3 decades. And get this, Jim Saxton is a Longhorn legacy. He is the son of the late, great James Saxton, who was a Heisman finalist. Be sure to give him a call, or better yet, visit his website, saxtoninsurance.com, and tell him that the Stories Inside the Man Cave Boys recommended you. Mustard Seed Mountain Ministries. The origin of the name, well, it's quite a story, a moving one at that. It's rooted to a mom who has a passion for photography, a mom whose daughter is battling pediatric cancer. Capturing these special moments throughout this bout inspired an idea to capture the same moments for other families who have children experiencing the same fight. You can help support this tremendous organization by attending this benefit on Saturday, February 5th at the Lone Oak Barn in Round Rock, Texas. For $20, you'll experience a day of family fun with live music, a barbecue plate, just to name a few, and you'll get to view some of these powerful photos. Learn more about this event and about Mustard Seed Mountain Ministries by visiting their Facebook page and their website, which is also linked on their Facebook page as well.
Attempt. Dawson ready. Snap is back. They place it down. Dawson's kick is a line drive, and it is off the crossbar and good! He did it again!
The miracle worker, Phil Dawson.
And the Browns lead 8-0.
Hey, what year was that? That must have been about when JFK was president, right?
Yeah, it was a long time ago for sure. No doubt.
You survived a ton of elements. And
yeah.
So you being in Cleveland, that lake effect snow, I mean, you probably faced that situation more times than you wanted to, right?
Yeah, I had no idea what lake effect snow was till I moved up there, but that stuff's crazy. You get that cold air blowing over that warm water, and I learned after a warm summer, lake effect was going to be worse. So the warmer that water was, the more snow was going to get kicked up. And man, it would snow a foot, but you drive 3 miles inland from the shores, no snow. So it was crazy. You'd play in one of those games and just be covered up. And by the time we got home, there wasn't any snow on the ground. So
wow.
I'd get home and be complaining about how bad it was. And our babysitter would be like, "What? Never even snowed here. I don't know what you're talking about." So
that is so bizarre. And we got a taste of that in 2021, that bizarre winter that was. And obviously, we weren't prepared for it.
I don't think anybody was.
Oh, my God. I still don't think we are, but that's a whole nother podcast. Hey, episode 111 with Phil Dawson, kicking great, Longhorn for life, and just a fine human being. Segment 2 brought to you by, now you may be interested in this, you and your wife, farmhousedelivery.com, ATX-based company. What they do, they source Texas-grown produce, Texas-grown meats, they have meal kits, whatnot. And how that works, you just go to their website, farmhousedelivery.com. And if you use the promo code MANCAVE, you get 20% off your first order. And I know I've said this a couple of times, but now I am a significant fan of spaghetti squash because of Farmhouse Delivery.
Ooh, I'll make fun of you later on that.
Oh, my God. I never thought. And you can literally, I didn't realize there were multiple ways to use spaghetti squash. And so I'm, as we age, I'm trying to clean things up a little bit.
There you go. I'll let you do it.
You mentioned pressure on NFL kickers, and it's just like the quarterback. Sometimes there's not enough credit given to kickers and quarterbacks, but there's sometimes too much criticism of kickers and quarterbacks. Why do you think that is, and how do the great ones like yourself handle that over time?
I think kicking is the most misunderstood aspect of football. So when people don't understand how challenging it is, it's easy to criticize it. And, I could get on my soapbox for your next 14 shows and talk about it, but just a simple way to put it, if kickers were so interchangeable, we've all heard it, just go get one off the street corner. If that was the case, why are there not enough humans on the planet to fill 32 NFL rosters in a given season?
That's a great point.
It is incredibly difficult, and the standard has gotten so high now. That you get generations. When I came into the league, 75% was great. And that was Al Del Greco, Steve Christie, Morton Anderson, Gary Anderson, those boys. They were getting towards the end. So then my group came in and we did what we could to improve things. And by the time I was done, 83, 84% was good. Well, now the next wave's come through. My fellow Longhorn, Mr. Tucker, has just broken the glass ceiling, and now it's 90%. So imagine having a job, any job, where you're expected to make be 90% proficient in what you do. There's a lot of pressure that comes with that. And the reason everybody always refers to the mental part of kicking is they don't understand the physical. If a quarterback's airmailing a ball, there's someone on that staff or probably some old quarterbacks in the bleachers that could tell you maybe his stride's too long or he's dropping his elbow or whatever. But when a kicker's missing wide right, they're like, oh, he choked. No, he had a physical flaw in his technique. So it's just misunderstood. And as someone who lived it for a long time, you just got to block out the noise and do everything you can to be prepared for the next kick. And like I said, you just go to work and see how long you can hold on.
And that kind of leads me to, I think there's some unjust criticism involving the kicker for this team right here. So, Zierlein, I mean, the kickers are a fraternity. And I've learned that finally. It took me until about 2012. You guys are a very close-knit fraternity. Is that pretty much sum it up?
Yeah, I mean, misery loves company. So we're the only ones who know what each other's going through. So those 10 minutes you get with each other before a game is kind of like therapy sessions. And then, hey, good luck, see you later, and we go do our thing.
So Zierlein, the kicker for the Cowboys, I think he's a quality kicker. There's been some criticism because I know he missed an extra point. And it goes back to what you said, mechanics on, from the snap, the hold, and the kick. And they blamed it on him or just criticizing, how the media can be. But so Coach McCarthy was asked about that. And this is pretty much what he says about him and that criticism as they head into the postseason here.
Frankly, went through a very similar situation with Mason Crosby. I want to say it was about 2013, 12, somewhere in there. And Mason, very, very talented kicker, was going through a really, really rough year. And I used to get tired of Troy Aikman asking me every week in the production meetings why we haven't made a change. It was one of those hot topics weekly. And at the end of the day, you believe in the process, you believe in their mental preparation, you believe in their physical preparation, and stayed the course. And if I recall, the following year, Mason probably had his best year to date. So, with that, and I look at Greg's particular situation. There's other factors involved that you take into account. We work together every day. I mean, I believe in him. I know John believes in him. Everybody believes in him.
So when you hear that, you've seen that, you've heard that, you've seen a lot. Are you still in touch with some of these NFL kickers? Do they ever come to you for some advice on how to handle that type of adversity?
Yeah, I'll get calls here and there, and I'm obviously humbled that they'd even remotely be interested in what I have to say. But it's interesting. I went back and studied it because I had like one or two kind of like, oh man, I'm not having a great year here kind of years. And when I went back and studied other guys that I looked up to, it was really strange. About every 7 years, a guy will have just kind of just for whatever reason, it just kind of all falls apart. And then they'll bounce right back. He referenced Mason Crosby.
Yeah.
In fact, he's having another one of those this year. So he said 2012, 2013, he kind of fell apart. Then he got it back together. So he's had a decade good run. Well, now he's having another one of those tough seasons. Well, I was no different. Adam Vinatieri was no different. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And there's so many factors that go into that. It's nice to hear a head coach acknowledge that. I've got a lot of respect for Coach McCarthy having the insight and the patience, especially in today's culture, right? You miss one kick, we'll go find the guy on the street corner.
Yeah.
Well, he knows they're not out there. So you might as well be patient, work with your guy, trust the process, give him a little time to work through what he's going through. And, hey, offense, score a few more points so it doesn't come down to a field goal. I mean, you're paying the guy that runs offense $100 million. Let's go score some touchdowns.
And that's so true. I mean, because you have to. It's a term that, and we'll talk about the horns shortly. But Steve Sarkisian has mentioned this: complementary football. Everyone has to play in sync together to help each other out and not be in that situation. Are you in any position to even remotely give your take on the Cowboys' chances this year, as far as this week being the playoffs? They're facing an old rival that you and I remember some great games with the 49ers.
Yeah.
I mean, it was always down in the NFC Championship game. I'll put this out there. Now I'm showing my age, our age, but you're younger. My first sports heartbreak, I literally had a tear or two.
I already know the catch.
Horrible.
I cried in my dad's lap.
Did you really?
In fact, my first GM with the Browns was Dwight Clark, and I told him that. I told him that. And then little did I know I'd spend 4 years in San Francisco, and the first time we played the Cowboys, I felt so strange because I was a diehard Cowboys fan, and here I am wearing the red and gold. It was tough.
That's got to be tough. It's fresh. It remains fresh.
Yeah.
I can't get over it. I've yet to been able. I need to go seek some counselor.
There you go.
Past that.
Yeah.
As far as the chances, I think the Cowboys. All this criticism of Dak, the offense, defense, it rotates. It's been, you know how the Cowboys are. It's a big production every year, and
I think the Cowboys suffer from the same thing my Longhorns do. They have to face so much more scrutiny and just stuff.
Yeah.
Just to show up and play a game. And over time, it just gets in your way, weighs you down, and it's hard to break through. So I hope they can. I haven't watched the Cowboys in detail, so I don't know. But
I'll say this: this is the best they've looked since that team. The catch he did make at Green Bay. I think this is the best team they've had.
Yeah,
and they have a good chance.
I hope they pull it out. It'll be a great game. You get this time of year, it's all about who's peaking at the right time. Doesn't even matter what your record is.
That's true.
So we'll see.
Because we've seen some wild card teams make a run at 9-7. Or nowadays, it's 17 games. Hey, speaking of that other show you mentioned, we're going to take a look as we transition to these guys. I've said it once, I'll say it again, but former players know more than I ever will. And, well, there's a lot of people who know more than I ever will. But a lot has been made of Steve Sarkisian's first year, and I use the term to describe the last 12 years of residual systemic issues. Sarkisian's done a fabulous job, regardless of what people on the outside may think is it's all about name, image, likeness deals. There's more to it. And from your take, being a now high school football coach, what do you see happening in addition to your maybe inner knowledge of the program?
No, it's obviously heading in the right direction. I know we were all disappointed. It's like they got stuck on that losing train and just couldn't get out of their own way and get off of it. But sometimes it's got to get pretty dark before the dawn starts shining. And I was really impressed with how steady he was. You know, he wasn't volatile, and the players sense that. You know, if you got a coach that one day lets something slide and then the next day he loses his mind on the same issue, players are left kind of like, whoa, what do we do? Who's our head coach? And, you know, early in the year they were winning. He was steady.
Mm-hmm.
When they got on that losing streak, steady. So that just shows me he's really confident in his plan, in his vision. I mean, it's undeniable he's an offensive genius. So that offense, that's the least of my worries. Give him a little time, kind of like Coach McCarthy. Trust the process. Give him some time to work out the bugs, and then take time to build the foundation. And then once you build the foundation, any success you have can now be sustained. So I'm not on the freak out train yet. Obviously, I want us to win, but I think bright days are ahead.
I think you're right, and it's you don't want an astronomical leap because you want sustainable success regardless of what program is. And A&M and Texas really crushed it together in the recruiting. And I'm not a big recruiting ranking guy, but what you just said is applicable to how this recruiting class they just assembled, especially this one right here. I mean, they have lured in guys from across the country, and I love the reaction from this guy at the All-American game in San Antonio last weekend.
It's a family thing. I'm about to cry right now, but you know, it's all good.
It's okay.
But the next 34 years, I'll be attending the University of Texas.
Wow, the Texas Longhorns. A big pickup for Coach Sarkisian. I see some tears in your eyes as well.
When you committed, did you have those chills? I know things are a little different how commitments occur, but did you experience that kind of emotion?
Yeah, I was floored. I came down on my visit, wasn't expecting a scholarship offer. Back in those days, they didn't offer early.
Yeah.
So you go on visits and find out if you're going to get an offer or not. But we had Scott Shreddy, an all-conference kicker, coming back for his senior year, so it didn't make a lot of sense to waste a scholarship, you know, on a guy who was going to be redshirted, especially a kicker. And Coach Makovic sat me down and offered me a scholarship. And I had the next 4 weeks, I had visits to Miami, Florida State, Nebraska, and Alabama. And when he offered me a scholarship, I said yes right there. Canceled all my other visits. This was the only place I ever wanted to go. And it took me, I don't know that I ever let it in. I was just in awe. And, you know, if I had one piece of advice for the players that go there, and I know it's a different world now, but, man, you have such an awesome opportunity to represent that university. You gotta approach it in such a way with respect for the school, for its rich history. And you just got to feel honored to have the opportunity to put on that helmet and just give your maximum effort every day to pay homage to the rich history that it has.
I mean, that's a beautiful summary, and that's exactly what I think gets lost. The history which created these opportunities and built that program, and there's a lot of only a handful of programs which are like that.
Correct.
And you were a major part of it. And that right there, my friend, is how a good transition to how we love to end this show.
Hey, man, tell me something good.
Tell me something good. Brought to you by Kevin Hutchison of Realty Austin. Phil Dawson, man, you are a wealth of positivity, a lot of knowledge and great experiences. But in this modern day, what's something good you can relay to the people out there listening and or watching?
I'm going to brag on my daughter. I don't know many 15-year-old girls who are in high school, who have a really good group of friends, who kind of got their deal figured out, that are willing for their dad to come in and say, guess what? We're going to leave this spot. We're going to leave your friends. We're going to leave your comfort zone. And I'm going to go be a head coach in Austin, Texas. And for a girl that's that age with those types of things surrounding her to have such graciousness and love for her family, I'm a pretty dang proud dad to hear that. So parents out there are still some good kids. I don't want any credit for my kids because I don't want the blame when they do something bad. But there's some good people still out there that care about others rather than themselves. And so I just wanted to give a shout out to my beautiful daughter, Sophie Ann Dawson.
And that was that was strong. I love it. Girl dad. I mean, you're a boy and girl dad, but the girl dads are very special human beings. And to all the daughters out there, listen to Phil Dawson on this, and all you girl dads. There's a commonality right here. There's a special love for those daughters that I have noticed on this podcast.
I've already told my players they can't talk to her. Hey, that's the best part of being a coach. So
she's off limits.
Off limits.
Oh my God. Well, brother, I can speak for almost everybody who maybe watches this podcast, or Longhorn Nation, or people who just love football and have followed your career. I know you retired as a Cleveland Brown.
Yep.
But you've been an inspiration to a lot of people, and you've been an example of positivity and staying true to your goals and creating the life that you want, man. And I can't thank you guys and welcome you and your family back to Austin.
Man, it's an honor to be on your show. You and me go way back. Look forward to reconnecting with you and following your success. And we're going to get this thing over here at Hyde Park going. We're going to do it the right way. We're going to give people in Austin an attractive alternative, and it's not going to take very long.
I have all due faith that will happen. And since I have flexibility nowadays, you'll see me over there at that beautiful football field overlooking that quarry.
Come on, let's go jump off that cliff and see what happens.
Let's do it for old time's sake.
Yeah.
Man, for the great Phil Dawson, good friend, great human being, and a Longhorn for life, and the Man Cave OGs, that being Big Mike, Coach Mo, and Hardball Harge, we are out.
You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up.